What's up everybody? It's your boy Proftrof and we're back again with another video from Shadiversity. Ooh, usually his videos have a lot more likes than dislikes. This one has 2.4 dislikes. Anyway, it's probably because of all the weebs with fucking samurai swords out there. Not like I'm a weeb or anything. I've never seen an anime in my life. Wink wink. That was a fucked up wink, whatever. This is Knight vs Samurai. Let's check it out. Y'all know my opinion on this topic. Samurai wins this in every single way. Better weapons, better armor, probably. Well, actually, the skill is a little debatable, but the weapon and the armor are so much more advanced that I think they take it easy.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and it is time for me to share my thoughts on the classic Knight vs Samurai
Yes,
debate.
Chad.
Now, there are a lot of opinions and feelings out there regarding this question. Who would win, the Knight or the Samurai? Some feel that it is a pointless, and some even go further than that and feel it's an insulting question to ask.
Why?
For myself, I just think it's a fun, nerdy question. Yeah. It's like, who would win, the Hulk or Superman? And this is kind of the same thing, who would win, Knight versus Samurai. So I don't think there's any harm in wondering about this question. But of course, the way we go about doing it can lead to misconceptions. When people say, no, the Knight would win because they're all better, or the Samurai win because they're all better, those kind of conclusions and statements can lead to some big misconceptions. And the statements that say it's a pointless question does have some grounds in the sense that either side could win depending on the skill of the warrior. You had very skilled knights, you had very skilled samurai, and you had less skilled on both sides as well. And in extension to that, you could have a peasant fighting a knight or a samurai, and if he just got lucky, he could win, or if he was particularly strong or skillful in the quarterstaff or whatever, he has a chance of winning too, if he was just that good, and say he was fighting less skilled opponents. So in the end, skill is going to be the primary factor. Having said that, I don't feel understanding this context renders the fun question of Knight vs Samurai completely redundant, because then what if both opponents were perfectly equal in skill? Now that actually changes the question, because that makes it not necessarily Knight vs Samurai. What it is really asking is who has the better equipment to give them more advantage over the opponent. Because if you had two equally skilled opponents, you would rightly then think that the next determining factor in who would win then would be who has the advantage in arms. So it really comes down to a question of who had the better technology. Well, something that does need to be understood about this question, and sometimes it's something that I feel is misunderstood quite a bit, is how little effect a slight difference in arms can actually make in combat. Skill is by far, and even luck, skill and luck is by far the larger determining factor in who would win a fight over who has an advantage in arms. Of course, there are big differences, say, like if you have a massive reach advantage over the opponent, that can make a big difference. But when I'm talking about, like, slight differences in armor, when the armor is mostly comparable and one is only slightly better than the other, and the weapons are equally sized, made differently, but therefore will perform differently under different stresses, everything like that, those things will have very, very little effect in the long run. In fact, one might say that there is such little effect in that trying to measure and then apply them to find the difference and effect in combat is negligible. So little that there's really no point in looking at it. And on the note of having a large disparity in the arms of opponents, say an opponent has a huge reach advantage, well, even then, okay, skill and luck can easily outweigh that advantage. There's always a way to beat it. Like, a guy who only has a sword can very much defeat a guy in full plate armor, okay? It'll be more difficult, but with skill and luck, it can be done, especially if there is a large difference in skill. Now, since I'm going to be sharing a very definitive opinion on who had the better technology, and honestly I think it is kind of obvious, though it can be brought up to massive contention as well, so maybe it's not as obvious as I think it is. But because we're going into that technology level, another point of context needs to be mentioned, and that is not everyone had the same quality of equipment, okay? If you look at in Europe, you had really, really excellently made swords, and then you had a huge gamut of crap swords, and so dependent on what level of quality will affect this question. And that's the same with the samurai, because not all katanas were equal. Some were not even folded, they were just beaten out of a lump of steel.
Really?
And so in my analysis, I am going to be considering the best
Come on,
compared to the
Come on,
best.
Shed.
The best European arms and weapons compared to the best Japanese samurai arms and weapons. And like I said, I kind of feel it is obvious, especially when you look at the real kind of quality that existed in the two historical periods. The knights in Europe had better armor and weapons over the samurai. Their armor technology was more advanced, it covered more of the body, it was just as articulate.
Well, I'm pretty sure like a huge point in why did the Japanese not have such good armor and such advanced I don't know how it's metallurgy is mostly because they didn't have that much steel over there. I think they had just shit iron at their disposal, and it was very limited. I think I read that shit somewhere. I'm not exactly sure how accurate it is, but I think that's a big factor in why you didn't see that much, steel and armor.
Articulated in my opinion. They had far better smelting technology to get rid of more impurities in the steel, which resulted in higher quality steel. And they also knew how to make hardened spring steel, which is, in my opinion, way better than the types of differential hardening that you have in samurai swords. Now, like I said before, spring steel versus a differentially hardened steel sword, the difference in combat really isn't going to be huge. Like that, the types of steel only comes into big importance when the sword gets put under massive stress, and that would only happen if you're using your sword incorrectly, and it would be more uncommon than common. In the general uses of swords, as long as the sword is strong enough and serviceable, it will do the job, and the difference in steel isn't actually going to make a big difference. But in Europe, they had more weapon and armor evolution and innovation, which produced a wider variety of weapons. They had more weapons that were focused and designed to combat armor specifically, where the samurai do not. Because look at the mace, the warhammer, the poleaxe. And so, if all things were equal, both combatant, knight and samurai, were of equal skill, and they had equal amounts of luck on their side, and it really came down to who had the advantage in their arms and weapons, yes, definitely the knight, absolutely. Now, if anyone is going to say, oh, it's not fair to consider both opponents as equal skill because the samurai have martial arts and they were just generally more skilled than the knights, bullcrap, okay? No, absolute bullcrap, get that out of your head. There was easily as effective and comparable martial arts in Europe as there was in Japan when it comes to swordplay and general combat techniques, and they were easily as sophisticated as one another. Now, if you really, really don't like me saying that, for instance, European swords, when you consider the best made European swords in the same kind of time periods compared to Europe and Japan, or looking at the 15th, 16th century, if you really don't like me saying that European swords were made out of better steel and were better quality than a traditionally made katana, I really suggest you watch my video series, The Truth About the Katana, because I systematically break down, point by point, how katanas are made and what effect that would cause in their use. And so I'm not just blowing wind out of my rear end when I say that. I'm actually coming to it with, I would like to consider, a fairly informed opinion on the subject. Now, in sharing my opinions in regarding knights versus samurai, does that mean I think knights are universally better than samurais? No, I don't. And I don't think samurais are universally better than knights, because like I said, the larger thing that will affect the outcome of a fight would be skill and luck. And so with that in mind, I think that knights and samurais equally have as much of a chance over the other as beating one another. And if you were to try and say who would win in an all-out war, well, that's actually something very different. That's a different question, because then we would need to look at war tactics, how the different cultures handled sieges and
I mean,
skirmishes,
then you
and
can't really say a knight, because knights weren't like, they weren't armies of only knights. They were like few were people that were actually knights. The same is about the samurais, right? There wasn't like 20 million samurais. Most armies were comprised during the Japanese wars of peasants, the yuri, or whatever they were calling them. Not the yuri, Yuri that you're thinking of hentai shit, chick, kiss chick, the Yuri Ashigaru. Ooh, I've played Shogun, bro. I've played Shogun 1 and 2, my guy. I know shit. I don't know shit, but that's what I mean. Like, most wars are not fought by, the 1-2% elite troops. They're fought by the peasants and the
how they,
masses.
did battlefield tactics and everything like that. Completely different question. So this wasn't a question of who would win in an all-out war, it was who would win in a one-on-one fight. Now, the question of knight versus samurai is kind of one, I feel it is the most fun and interesting warrior culture comparison that can be made, because they're the most equivalent kind of warrior cultures that existed in history. If you look at other warrior cultures, like, say, and I should really say perhaps other warrior professions, because saying warrior culture can be misleading, like Viking. Viking wasn't a warrior culture, that was more of a profession. But still, if you look at the Vikings and also
That's from more a
compare,
Mountain Blade
throw into
Warband,
the
by the way.
mix the
The artwork.
Spartans and
The
such,
Spartan.
who would win? Knight versus Viking versus Spartan versus Samurai and all that, stuff. Knight and Samurai, in my opinion, will come out on top above all others because
Ooh.
of armor is a big reason, and overall better technology. And if you want another little factor as to why Knights and Samurais would come out mostly on top of nearly all other
Horses.
warrior culture, traditions, professions, and such like that, cavalry, okay? Knights and samurais used horses. Why? Well, because they are warrior cultures, traditions, whatever, that existed a bit later on in history and had better technology and employed cavalry in a larger extent. And Vikings,
I mean, let's be honest. Horses, people on horses, OP as fuck. Cavalry is really important. Especially the knights, the fucking cavalry with spikes, OP as fuck. Now, when guns come, still, times change a little bit, but yeah. Horses OP.
didn't use cavalry, okay? And so Vikings and Spartans, because they are at a massive disadvantage in arms, and they don't have cavalry, big thing there, they'd be totally screwed if they ever face each other on the battlefield. But that is a...
Well, okay. I don't know about the Vikings, to be honest, but Spartans and Greeks, ancient Greeks as a whole, they really loved using spears and pikes, which cavalry charging into a pike formation or a spear formation is retarded. So maybe there's a little bit of a, but then again, samurai were mostly, horse archers, and that would fuck the pikemen that are, or the spear formation, because you just shoot them. Unless they're like in the thermopyle, in a perfect situation where you cannot, circle them, attack them from the rear. Well, they did get attacked from the rear. Well, y'all know what I mean, right?
Again, kind of looking at a war, a battlefield comparison. And one-on-one, it's a bit different, but still better arms and technology will make knights and samurais come out on top above other warrior culture and traditions. So there you go. That is Shad's opinions and thoughts on the classic debate of knights versus samurai.
So basically what Shad said would be that if a knight and a samurai were to face 1v1, the samurai would bend over, expose his rear, and the knight would penetrate. Quick translation for all y'all. No, come on, let's be honest. Samurai, the samurai were cool. Like, I love samurai swords. They look cool as hell. But look at my boy on the left over there. Look at him. Look at him. Look at those soulless eyes you cannot even see. This dude is ready to fuck some shit up. This boy, he thinks he's ready, but truth is, this sword is not gonna do shit to this dude. Like, it is not gonna do shit to him. That is just a fact. It's a fact. This sword is gonna do a lot to him. Look at how many exposed, just by looking at this picture, look at how many exposed points each person has. Look at his hands, look at this guy's hands, look at his throat, look at this guy's throat. Has fucking chainmail. And probably on the other side of the breastplate, probably goes here. Plus, I know that later on they had those breastplates where they like go up here and go like this. So you cannot even get to the neck. Anyway, I think I said enough. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Who do you think? Who do you take from these two guys? Left is in the knight or right is in the samurai? I think these guys are cool, but these guys would win. In a 1v1 fight, all things are balanced, like skill. Let me know what y'all think. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye, have a nice fucking day.